Omaha. My name is Bella Scipione, and I'm your host for today's special on Creighton Corner. Joining me today is Dr. David Gallant. Dr. Gallant is an assistant professor of music at Creighton's Fine Art Department. Dr. Gallant, how are you doing today?
I'm fantastic, Bella.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming and joining us today. I just want everyone to know a little bit about who you are and how you ended up in your profession. So could you describe one of your earliest memories of being involved in the fine arts industry?
Yeah, when I was very young, I got involved in music writing and composing, and I became fascinated with the idea of expressing yourself through music, especially instrumental music. Mm-hmm. I feel vocal music, because we use text in vocal music, it's very apparent what we're trying to say.
Yes.
And in instrumental music, we have to use the sounds of our instrument to portray emotions, and I found that very fascinating at a young age. And I did that from a young age. I played piano. I took group piano lessons at 5. Okay. So it was a bunch of kids in a area playing piano, and then I dabbled on different instruments growing up, but I always was very passionate about instrumental music at a young age.
That's awesome. So then I know you studied at UNL, and you had this moment where you knew you wanted to be a conductor. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so it's a great story, actually. I was going to Cal State Long Beach at the Bob Cole Conservatory of Music, and the conductor there was inviting conductors to go to a conducting workshop so that they could potentially learn about the art of conducting. And I thought, they wanted more money for the school, how colleges ask for more money. And I said to my mom, I said, oh, we shouldn't do this. They just want more money from us. And my mom's like, no, you need to go out there and you need to experience this. Yeah. And so I went there with very little understanding of conducting, and I had a baton that was purchased at a gift shop, so it wasn't even a real baton, and I didn't have music with me. And I went there, and there was a man named Neil Verone, who is a conductor at the Eastman School of Music, and I got up and I started to conduct, and I really just was unsure of myself, and I didn't know what I was doing. And Neil saw that, and he got up on the podium, and I always describe this moment as when everything was black and white and everything turned to color. Yeah. And he starts working with the orchestra and conducting, and he starts bringing out the cellos, this undulating rhythm in the cellos, and the brass, and the strings. And you can just see him working and pulling out all these colors and timbres of sounds. And I just watched him, and I went, I want to do that. Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah. And so after that experience, we sat down and we started talking about repertoire, specifically Beethoven symphonies. And I didn't really know about the Beethoven symphonies. And I said to myself, I want to know about orchestral music. And I came home and I said, I want to do a master's in conducting. Yeah. And I applied to universities throughout the country, and UNL offered me a scholarship to come to their school and conduct. And I got involved in conducting, and while I was there, I worked with the Nebraska Christian Men's Chorus. That was the first ensemble that really allowed me to be a part of of their group and practice my art with them. And also the Lincoln Community Playhouse allowed me to conduct some of their musicals, and from there it just kind of blossomed. So I'm very grateful for the experiences I had, because they've led me to this, to today.
That's a really awesome experience.
Yeah.
Was there ever someone in your life who was a major influence in your career?
Yes. Yes. I studied violin with a man named Dr. Greg Maldonado, and he is a violin teacher. And when I started violin, I struggled immensely, and he kind of took me under his wing, and his approach to study of instrument, of the practice of your instrument, was very fine-tuned. We spent one lesson going over one measure of music for the entire hour, and we learned how to phrase that measure differently, how to show different articulation, what part of the bow to use, what was going on harmonically, where the melody is going. And he gave me this enthusiasm for really understanding the small aspects of music.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things a lot of musicians do is they go, I want to play an instrument and I want to play an instrument now.
Yeah.
I don't want to do the work that it takes.
Right.
And Dr. Maldonado taught me the patience that's required in order to play music, which is, as you know, is difficult.
Yeah, which I'm sure requires a lot of patience, and that's something that I think I need a little more of. What style of music is your favorite to conduct, and why?
My favorite style of music is opera.
Yeah.
I love opera because you're working with an orchestra, you're also working with singers on stage, and then you're collaborating with a director that is directing those actors on stage. You're working with a costume designer, you're working with people that are doing the backdrops, and it's just this kind of every artistic thing that you could put on stage at once, it's all happening simultaneously.
Yeah.
And so it's just this great eruption of art, and it's so beautiful. And when you're a part of it and it's all going perfectly and smoothly, and you're working with the singers, you're working with the orchestra, and you've got this kind of, I call it the tridium, because if you are kind of the, I would say the quarterback.
Yeah.
So you're looking at the singers are looking at you in their peripheral, and then the orchestra musicians are looking at you. And so there's this triangle where the conductor is keeping everything flowing, and if that conductor is removed, there's chaos, because there's no communication between what's going on stage and what's going on in the pit.
Absolutely.
And so it's just fantastic. And I always encourage people, if you haven't seen opera, to go see opera. I think it's fascinating, especially opera out in Italian, French, or German, to experience different languages, and the storylines are also really incredible.
Yeah. So when you're directing something like opera or conducting, how would you describe your style of how you do that? Yeah.
So I mean, I always get asked the question, does the conductor do anything? I mean, he's up there waving his...
Just waving his hand.
He's up there waving his hands around. And the truth is, yes, the conductor is actually is doing a lot. I like to think of my job not as telling people what to do, but inviting them to do what I am theorizing or what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
So that's a collaboration. Like what I want them to do is I want them to feel, the orchestra, I want them to feel the autonomy that they have control. And then I'm facilitating the phrasal structure. I'm facilitating how they're going to play. I'm adding, so, you know, in our field, we think of the notes and the rhythms as kind of the bare bones or the meat and potatoes, but everything in between the notes and rhythms is the music.
Right.
Whether we're crescendoing, we're getting louder, or whether we're rallentandoing, we're getting slower. Everything matters, and so while I'm conducting, I am genuinely showing them how I want the music to progress while we're playing in real time.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So now that we know a little bit more about who you are as a musician, I'd like to talk about your time at Creighton so far and discuss some future plans you have with Creighton's Fine Arts Department. So first of all, I know you said you're from sunny Southern California, the cold weather. How did you end up in Omaha and specifically Creighton? Yeah,
it's funny. So I told you I went to UNL for my master's, and then I stayed at University of Nebraska-Lincoln for my doctorate. I really enjoyed my education. I really enjoyed the teachers there. It's kind of ironic, actually. I had applied to schools all across the country, and I was thinking to myself, you know, it'd be nice to have an experience outside of Nebraska. Right. And I got hired by Creighton, and I am still in Nebraska. So obviously there must be a reason for me being here. But the Creighton faculty and everybody that has been a part of my life moving in and seamlessly into the school, it's just been fantastic. And I just couldn't have asked for a better university that's, they've accommodated me. Right now we're doing, the Canesville Symphony is an orchestra, a community orchestra in Council Bluffs, which obviously neighbors Omaha, and we are collaborating, we're working together and creating great pieces of music. Later on in November, we're going to be performing Dvorak's Symphony No. 9 from the New World, which is a phenomenal piece of music in which Dvorak shows the gospel and the sounds of America, which he found in a lot of the South when he was there. And I find that it's the perfect piece of music to kind of bring them together.
Yeah.
And we are also, the Kaysville Symphony is going to be home to the Hoff Center, and the Creighton Symphony, or the Creighton University Orchestra and Kaysville will be playing in this Hoff Center. So there are great things that are happening within the orchestra program at Creighton and also in the arts community in Omaha. So
what is your job with being in your position for the department, and what are you currently doing?
Yeah. I currently am, we just started a chamber music ensemble where I take students that are interested in performing on their instrument, and I put them together and I say, hey, are you interested in performing in like a trio or a duet or a quartet or even bigger like an octet? And the idea behind that is that a lot of these players sometimes get overshadowed in an ensemble because there's so many people, they become sardines, right? And they want to, some of these students want to be heard privately. And in a chamber ensemble, they get that opportunity.
Right.
They get to perform with 3 people and get recognized on their instrument, and it gives them that, and I think that's super important for young musicians, as well as, so I do that. I also work with the orchestra and I teach history. I teach music history, and I love music history. It's fascinating. I also teach music appreciation as well, which I get a lot of people that love music but don't have a really firm understanding of what music is, and I kind of guide them through the history. Actually, I give them a historical aspect of music, and I also teach them about the instruments and all of that stuff.
Sure, that's awesome. Down the line, what is one thing you hope to accomplish here at Creighton?
Well, the orchestra program at Creighton, I hope to grow to a point where we are performing regularly, where we can bring in guest artists, where we're known within the state of Nebraska. I think it's really important when you're working in any kind of department that every single area of the department is a strength.
Right.
You don't want to be in a department where there are weaknesses. Every area is important, and what I'm trying to do is raise the bar, raise the caliber of these musicians, so that they play the rep that other colleges are performing at, and that they feel inspired and they feel honored to be a part of that program. And you know, it's my first year, and I'm trying to build that their morale as an ensemble, and also set realistic goals so that they can succeed in the future.
Yeah. What do you enjoy doing in your free time?
In my free time?
Yes, in your free time.
Well, I used to love playing soccer a lot, and then I got injured, so I don't play much soccer anymore. I do enjoy reading. I love to read. I love to run. Go out to the movies a lot and see movies, and I write, actually. I just enjoy writing. Not music, I write. I'm in the middle of writing a sci-fi novel for fun and just for enjoyment. It helps me kind of decompress at the end of the day, and you know, I think it's really important that if you're studying in a field or you're doing something consistently every single day, that you have an outlet, that you can do something a little bit different to make your life a little bit.
Yeah, maybe I should do that. That'd be good for me. Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Oh, that's a great question. I see myself older and wiser. I think in 10 years I'll most likely, hopefully, be conducting a professional orchestra, flying out to conduct a professional orchestra, potentially have engagements as a guest conductor, work with youth orchestras, do all-state orchestras with many different high school students. I mean, in my field, the ultimate goal is to spread your knowledge, spread your wealth of knowledge in the field of music, so that the kids get excited. I mean, it's really important. This interview is so important, not just because you're interviewing a new faculty member. at Creighton, but it's really important because orchestral music is an important part of our culture. And if you go into an orchestra, you go into most orchestras in the Midwest, you'll notice that there aren't many young people that are attending, and it's my job to
get us excited,
to get you guys excited,
absolutely.
and because it's exciting for me.
Yeah.
And I think there is something very valuable in orchestral music, and I want to share that with all the Creighton students and hopefully keep this tradition alive.
Yeah. With that being said, I know you're working with a nonprofit organization.
Yeah.
And there's currently a concert coming up with Creighton. Do you want to talk about that? And
Yeah.
share the news about that?
Yeah. So so PACE is a nonprofit that we are. The Kansville Symphony is kind of becoming part of the PACE family, and other performance groups are the Chanticleer Theater and the Nebraska Ballet, and we're all going to be sharing this Hoff Center, which is a cultural arts center where there's visual art, theater, and music and dance.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic for the Council Bluffs community because they don't have a place like that in Council Bluffs. And so we're kind of spearheading this multi-million-dollar building and trying to bring it to the public. And it's great. I think, you know, we're going to grow as an orchestra, and the Creighton University is going to grow. We're going to do a lot of collaborations, and I think that's all you can ask for if you're in the field of music.
For sure. So lastly, is there anything you want Creighton students and faculty to know about who you are as a person?
Yeah. I guess I would say I'm a funny guy. I like to have fun. Humor is the way I kind of cope with the world.
Yeah.
And I talk a lot when I'm nervous. But I love collaboration. I always want what's best for the university. I think sometimes we can get into this position where, you know, I'm doing this and this is kind of my area, but the university is a university as a whole, and so it's important that the entire university work together collectively, so that, because, I mean, we know that music enhances anything that you would potentially do in life outside of music, because it engages different parts of the brain. And so every single part of Creighton is important, and I think there is no such thing as a hierarchy of importance. It's all content is equally important, and it's how that student takes that content and then utilizes it later in life and in their profession. And so for me, I would say, you know, I'm very easygoing. Come to my office and talk to me. Let's chat. Send me an email. Let's collaborate. Let's make music.
Awesome. Well, that's all the questions I had for you today. Thank you so much for coming out and sharing a little bit about who you are and what you hope to do at Creighton. I hope your experience here is nothing but positive, and I cannot wait to see what you have in store for the department. Make sure to attend Dr. Galant's upcoming concert on November 24th. We wish you the best of luck. I am your host, Bella Scipione, and we will see you next time on Creighton Corner.